So with that being said, Ryan, I'm curious, is there any other sort of storylines you're really interested in watching in this series before we talk about the keys to success and our predictions?
I'm just interested to watch the temperature keep rising in this series. I think this one's going to go a long ways. I had this pegged as a 7-game series for a while. I might be wrong, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm interested to see if the Bruins are able to adjust and just find their spots to be able to force their way through the seams and get their chances offensively, because that's the biggest thing that was missing. They honestly, they weren't bad. Like, again, like you said, like Krejci line, like their numbers were fine. They just couldn't really generate much. And similar with the top line, if they had some good passing plays, they had their chances, but they just couldn't get them frequently enough or high danger enough. So that's going to be key is getting yourself somehow in those situations when the Caps are checking as tightly as they are, and I think the special teams are going to be huge. We already talked about how the Bruins had a real good penalty kill this year, but the Caps had a real good power play that usually could outmaneuver the Bruins penalty kill. And then it's honestly a little bit in that other direction. You got to wonder about it too. I didn't realize the Caps penalty kill was so good this year. It was, I think, top 5 in the league.
Zdeno Chara, dude.
Yeah, despite like their overall team defense stats weren't great, but their penalty kill was still pretty good. And they, from what I could see in the game yesterday, is they just kind of stack the middle. So the Bruins, who is a team that relies on getting the puck over kind of to the 2 hash marks or the 2 faceoff dots, that cross ice pass isn't available to get all the way there or to the bumper. So you're really relying on getting the puck out to the guy at the point. But in order for the guy at the point to be in a position where he can receive a pass with an open passing lane, he's got to be right at the top of that stack of Caps players. So there isn't a lane to the net for a shot either. So they're gonna need to find ways to get the Caps off of their rhythm and out of position in that stack, because there's a pass there, but it's not a dangerous one to the D, and there's just really not a whole lot going on there. I also, Leon, how many games do you think before we see Trent Frederic in the series?
I don't think we're going to see him. I mean, so right now, who do you take out for him? Maybe Chris Wagner, who is a guy. Wagner kills penalties. He does that fairly well. He played well yesterday. He seems to be the preferred veteran. Who else would you trade in for him, I guess?
See, that's the thing, is I would not make this in a pure like hockey decision. He's certainly not the best option right now in terms of skill or offensive prowess. And it's also hard to figure out who you're going to take out of the lineup in order to do so. But we've already seen what type of physical series this is going to be, and we've seen the way that Frederic has played, particularly against the Capitals throughout the season. So yeah. I would be shocked if he doesn't get into at least a game or two. Especially, I think if the Bruins lose a game and they need to kind of swing more of an emotional momentum, I think we're going to see him to get in there just to start some shit. Because, again, talking about throwing them off their rhythm, Frederic gets under your skin and he throws you off your rhythm. And we talk about, like, he pissed off Ovi and he pissed off Wilson. And then Wilson goes and knocks Carlo out of the game. But then the Bruins, the offense opened up in that game, and they ended up wrecking the Caps from an offensive standpoint in that particular game. So I think he brings a factor that if there was any opponent that you were up against in the playoffs where you want what he brings, I think it's probably Washington. So I don't know. I think he gets in there. I wouldn't be shocked if it's something like maybe Wagner comes out of the lineup and then Lazar moves to the wing. And either Frederic centers the fourth line, or like Corrali shifts back down to the fourth line, and then Frederick maybe plays like an off wing on the third or fourth line or something like that. I don't know. But I feel like they're going to find a way to get him at least into a game or two, unless the Bruins come out and tie the next game and have no difficulties with the Caps.
That's true.
I don't, again, necessarily think that it is definitely the move that's going to put you over the top, or it's going to be the right move, but it's the type of move that I think is going to end up getting made for better or worse.
Yeah, you follow Cassidy more than I do in terms of like his desire to play those kind of games with other teams and rabble rouse. If you think about the purely physicality standpoint, Wagner hits more than Frederick hits. Wagner's not nearly as tough as Frederick in terms of that, nor is he as agitaty. Is agitaty a word? If not, it is now. That's another breakdown.
But it's the right move for this situation.
Yes, yeah. But he's more physical on the forecheck than Frederick is. So I guess that depends what you're trying to accomplish. And if Cassidy and company, they want to change that rhythm a little bit, they want to throw the Caps off, they want to try to play that sort of a street fight, alley kind of fight, kind of a game, then he's an option for you. I don't know. Again, if they're playing well, I hate that idea.
Yeah.
If you're desperate, I could see trying it.
Yeah. I also think, so far so good with DeBrusque, but we also know that he's on thin ice this year. So I think if he has a particularly bad game, then he's probably coming out and Freddie's on the left wing of the fourth line.
For sure. And, injuries happen in hockey a lot, especially in the playoffs. So it could just be that, organically someone's banged up and they need to throw someone in. And he does seem like sort of the next on line amongst the forwards group, especially in a physical, grinding series. So it would be interesting to see what he could do there, but it's not my top option at the moment. But yeah, go ahead, man. I was
going to say, speaking of banged up too, let's not forget, granted, Coyle's been bad all season. But this is also his first game coming back from some kind of injury too, so that's also not going to help him be particularly effective in the playoffs. So you hope that he's over whatever it was.
Well, so you think hockey fans should cut players some slack from time to time, Ryan? Is that what you're arguing?
I don't think so. I just think it could be play. Yes, actually, that's not true. Yeah. I do think from time to time.
I do too.
Hashtag Nick Ritchie. But, it's harder to cut him slack this year because it's been a trend for most of the season. But I thought he was particularly invisible in this game. And some of that could be due to the fact that he's probably not 100%. And we also questioned prior to that if he's been 100% a lot of the season. So
I'll be very curious how they talk about his play at the end of the year. I can't imagine it's not a topic of discussion unless he fires it up this playoff run, and especially if the Bruins are able to go on a pretty gnarly playoff run. The only other one I want to mention here before talking about keys for success and our predictions is Tom Wilson just always seems like a storyline. Like it seems like you can't get away from him.
Is it not the most on-brand thing in the NHL that this guy that was such a controversy whether or not he should actually be playing in the playoffs, scores the first goal of the Stanley Cup playoffs?
Yep, and assists on the overtime winner. That is the most NHL thing ever. That is a great point. And it's not going away, and it's not going away because regardless of what he's doing, he's a presence, right? And he was a positive presence for the Capitals.
He's a very good hockey player. There's no denying that.
Yeah, his deception on the shot to sort of get Rask just to hint off his angle on that on such a bang play was quite nice. And he actually made two very nice plays on the rush to get the puck over the blue line before his teammates, and then also to delay just enough to find that passing lane. So those were two fairly nice plays.